I'm curious. After helping 1,200 like official people through your programming, is there one person that you thought this is going to be real hard, man? This guy's really suffering. And I say guy because I think probably 99.9% of the people, I mean, typically who are reaching out to you are men.
I only work with men.
You only work with men, but which actually, obviously, and you work with, but you help marriages in helping men. Is there somebody that you really were like, I don't know, you don't have to name names, obviously, but he blew you away that he was able to push through somebody that maybe was worse off than where you were, and he was just, I mean, is there anything that comes to mind? Or just for that matter, any testimonial or any person that was like, you marvel at, you were like, wow, that feels amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the ones that I get to personally interact with, I mentioned being in Scottsdale, meeting up with Armani and the conversation over dinner with him and his fiance. We had David, who was a local sheriff here that I got to spend 2 Saturdays with him and his family, which was just amazing, being welcomed in their homes. I mean, the emotion and tears shed in there. The one that shocked me the most, man, and I don't want to sound like I'm judging somebody, but I could tell early on that I think he was struggling with Asperger's or autism. Like he was on the spectrum, and I could just kind of get that feeling from him, like in our initial conversation. But he had told me that it had reached a point where, like, he stopped doing dishes. Like, he had stacks and stacks and stacks of dirty dishes like coming out of his sink. Like he just kind of given up on like even taking care of himself. Like he wasn't shaving. Hygiene was disgusting. I was like, this guy's going to be really hard. I think we had to put him on a payment plan because the cost of the program was even a reach for him. But he surrendered to the curriculum. And when I say that, I mean, he did everything in exactly the way that I asked.
Wow.
I had these guys, we changed their lives. There's 5 daily habits, non-negotiables. He didn't miss a beat. He journaled every day. He did his morning gratitude every single day. He would take pages and pages and pages of notes for one written assignment. And by the end of it, like, I remember he did a video walkthrough. He's like, Frank, I've never felt comfortable showing the inside of my home to anybody, not even my family, because I was embarrassed at how I was living. Like, it was immaculate. Like, I mean, it was like you could eat food off of.
How many days, how many weeks, months later is this?
That was 4 months.
4 months.
4 months.
So 120 days.
120
this
days.
This guy, complete transformation.
Yeah. He got a second job. He'll never be the most financially abundant person in the world because some of the things he deals with just socially and whatnot, but he was thriving. He was working on some creative things, wanted to launch a YouTube channel. He was really good with music, had found a little, I say little, he was in his early 20s. He was a young man, had met somebody and they were, casually going on dates together. It was really, really inspiring, man. But I mean, we've had, there's so many, man, the marriages, like, we've had guys that have been in relationships for 4 years, but scared to take the leap. And by the end of it, they're sending me pictures. She said yes. It's like stuff like that, man. It's like that's why I do it.
And you've said before in previous podcasts, clips I've caught of you and stuff, talking about finding a new identity.
Yeah.
And that's truly what it comes down to. It's people discovering a complete new version of themselves, a new identity, seeing themselves different. The little voice in their head says different things to them. They just see the world in a different way. People see them in a different way. Everything they've become a brand new person.
Yeah.
That's anybody's capable of that in lots of different capacities, in terms of like whether you have a porn addiction or you don't, right? I mean, there's people struggle in other areas of their life that they can overcome and have a new identity.
Yeah, well, you guys are in the health and fitness space, right? And you know this to be true. Losing weight is not hard. Everybody does it. Everybody can do it. Everybody will do it at some point in their life. But the research is very clear that 90% of people that have any type of successful weight loss journey will put all, if not more, of that weight on in a 3 to 5 year window. Why is that? Because they haven't changed who they are. You know, they went on a diet. They went on a quick reset. You know,
they still see themselves as that person
and
with that struggle.
They see themselves through that person with the struggle, and they still live their lives through the person with the struggle, right? Instead of saying, hey, this new way of eating is going to be my new lifestyle. Well, what is a lifestyle? A lifestyle is something that follows your identity, right? You know, when I got into bodybuilding, like I had to live as a bodybuilder everywhere I went. Frank, why do you show up with, Tupperware to family events? Because I'm a bodybuilder. It was my identity. So my actions followed how I was, who I was. You know, surrounded by entrepreneurs every single day. Entrepreneurs are a different breed. They're a different identity. Their work goes with them everywhere they go. I remember first time I met Joel, it was pre-Bucks game. He was sitting there at the laptop at the restaurant. Well, that's probably why he went on to have a 9-figure exit from his company, right? Because he saw himself as this person. My work is the most important thing. Healthy or not, whatever you want to have that view on, but it was the identity at how he saw
If
himself.
you throw everything, and you're like, BPAC, you mentioned Ben Pakulski earlier. He threw everything into bodybuilding, and he became one of the best bodybuilders in the world for a period of time. He was right at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
And the only way you get there, you have to have blinders on, right? It's just like singular focus. The only bad part about it is like things can everything else can kind of crumble.
Yeah. And this was what I saw very early on in addiction, and this was the missing piece that I saw in other ways that people were trying to overcome porn or overcome any addiction. You know, what does 12 steps ask you to do? 12 steps. Incredible, right? It helped more people through addiction than any other organization in the world. They've been around longer than everybody else, so that's probably why they have the success. But every day when I go into a meeting, I had to raise my hand and say, Frank, I'm Frank, I'm a porn addict, or Frank, I'm a sex addict, or Frank, I'm an alcoholic. What are you doing? You're holding on to that identity.
To your old self.
And if we believe that our subconscious, which dictates and drives 80% of our life, is in control of what we do, if we hold on subconsciously to that identity of I'm an addict, I'm struggling, I'm trying to quit porn. That's the thing I tell guys, we're not here to quit porn. Like if all you're trying to do is quit pornography, you're in the wrong place. Because what you're saying is that this thing out there is stronger than you, and that's why you need to stop doing it. Why don't you become the person that no longer wants it?
Right.
Become the person that no longer
like Larry
needs
Hagner was saying, he drives past McDonald's with no intention, no interest in going there. He's like, it's just fast food. It doesn't appeal to me. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. I have no interest in it. I can stop and pick it up for the kids, but I'm not ordering any for myself. I just don't want it. I don't see myself as a fast foodie guy. You know what I mean? And that's what I've struggled with this in my own struggles with like just anger, short fuse, bad temper, overreaction stuff that was just built in me from my father, from my upbringing, and I've had this in me in some way. Even at 48, almost 49 years old, I still struggle with it. I've actually had some really good conversations recently with a guy who's I was on his podcast several months back, he's just a good dude, and that's what he does. He helps men, he helps families through challenges.
Yeah.
And for me, anger is definitely one. But I got to stop referring to myself as like, well, that's just who I am. It's just how I was brought up. It's how I was raised. It's like, I don't have to be an angry person. I don't have to have a short temper.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a short fuse. I can change it. I can. What he was saying is like he's like, do you do it at work? I'm like, no, not really. He's like, do you do it in this area of your life? I'm like, no. He's like, so you do it at home with your wife and your children. So you're giving yourself permission at home to be an angry person.
Yeah.
But you don't give yourself permission at the grocery store to be an angry or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm perfect in all areas of my life other than just when I'm home with my family. But I give myself permission in certain environments to be more angry. They can see the worst parts of me, but I'll keep those at bay.
Yeah.
In these other areas of my life, of our life, and people will do that with porn.
Yeah. Yeah. Our identity drives everything. Our thoughts come out of our identity. Our habits come out of our identity. The things that we do, the things that we don't do, all derive from the identity, which is the lens at which we see ourselves through. So everything about rebuilt recovery. A rebuilt man is a man that has killed off the old identity and has stepped into the new version. The logo, right? The phoenix, the symbol of death and resurrection, becoming a lion. Men are here to be lions. That means that there's a territory for you to take dominion over, for you to lead, for you to conquer, for you to be in charge of. That is your call. That is your responsibility as a man. You know, I think I mentioned like we have an assignment towards the end of the first month in our program where we've identified all these parts about the old self, right? The limiting beliefs, the fear, the anger, the judgment, the guilt, the shame, all that. Put on a piece of paper, burn the paper, and watch the parts of you die.
Yeah.
And then create a new piece of paper with everything that is the new identity.
Pruning.
Yeah.
Just a massive pruning, you know?
Yeah.
And
that's the deep work. That's the important work. And that's I believe that's been the work that separates us. Cause like I said, I saw the whole. I said, if you're going to be free, you cannot every day call yourself an addict.
Is that why these other systems and these other, solutions prevent people from seeing results, from getting the change that they're after? Is because they're coming up short in this one particular
I think it's
area?
one of the biggest. I think it's one of the biggest ones. I mean, I haven't seen everything out there,
Sure.
But what I understand about our mind, our subconscious, and it's not to knock the origin, the originator of 12 Steps, but the interesting thing I just found out about Bill W. So Bill W. was a founder of AA. He got free from alcohol, but he ended up becoming a sex addict.
Yeah, so he just transferred.
He just transferred it to something else because every day he had to raise his hand and say, "I'm powerless to this thing." No, you're powerful. There's nothing in the world that you cannot conquer if you set your mind to it, if you put the plan, if you get yourself in the right environment, and you have the right belief system.